Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming for this update on the status of our UCSF Medical Center at Mission Bay project. We're coming to you from Cole Hall. We're simulcasting across the vast UCSF empire, Mount Zion, Mission Bay, and Laurel Heights. We welcome viewers from those sites. We're also videotaping this session today. So this will be available on the website, and you can, we'll give you the URL for this at the end of the session. Today I'm joined by Cindy Lima, who is the Executive Director of this project. She'll be talking after I conclude, and then we're also joined by School of Medicine Dean Sam Hawgood, who will be talking a little bit later on. Our goal today is to update you on the progress, I think actually remarkable progress that's been made in planning and moving toward the realization of a new children's, women's specialty and cancer hospital at Mission Bay opening in 2014, late 2014. We'll obviously have those hospitals, some ambulatory care, a power plant, and all the other things that you would expect to see in a hospital facility, and along the way today you'll hear about other efforts that we're making, like including how we intend to make this one of the greenest hospitals around. I think it's always worth reminding ourselves of why we are doing this project. Certainly for any of you who work in the inpatient facilities at any of our sites, you know that we have capacity issues. Our hospital facilities were not designed to accommodate the number, complexity, and type of patients that we're caring for now. Our facilities are obsolescent. In fact, yesterday I had yet another real-life example of a problem that our facilities present to us. We were talking about trying to develop a percutaneous valve replacement program here. We could do it. We have all the technical talent. We have fantastic cardiology and cardiovascular program, but we would need to make a $20 million improvement to our outdated operating rooms here at Moffitt Hospital in order to make that work. The facilities we have are inflexible, and they don't accommodate the changing needs of medical care as we deliver it here. We also have a need to address the long-term vision for UCSF. As Dean Hawgood will talk a little bit later on, one of the great assets of UCSF is the proximity of research faculty, research facilities with clinical facilities, and the special synergy that we're able to develop as a result of that proximity. At this campus, where maybe we're too proximate here on Parnassus, where we have so much research activity in dense space and patient care activity also here in dense space, very compact. Down at Mission Bay, we have an enormous budding research campus, but at this point, no clinical facilities. And we think that the ultimate fulfillment and realization of our potential at UCSF is the co-location of research and clinical facilities. And then obviously at Mount Zion, we have some of each. But because of this last bullet here, the state seismic deadlines, Mount Zion Hospital needs to be shut down as an inpatient facility by 2015. The asbestos just won't hold it all together any longer over there, and so we need to declare an end to Mount Zion as an inpatient facility. However, Mount Zion is a spectacular facility for the patients who receive care there, and we expect that this will be the focal point, in fact, the hub for much of our outpatient activity, particularly with the operating rooms, the intervention, diagnostic, the infusion center, and so forth that we have at Mount Zion, and we see a very bright future for Mount Zion as well. But all of these reasons come together and drove us to think, how do we go ahead and look at building additional capacity, modern facilities for children's, women's specialty, and cancer at a new site down at Mission Bay. And along the way, realizing that whatever we do for those programs has benefits for every other program. So just imagine that the 6th, 7th, and 15th floors were vacant to here at Parnassus today. What might we do with that space? I don't know if anyone here has any suggestions, but there's going to be ample need and ample desire for us to fill that space, either to just expand programmatic activities that we already have, or maybe it gives us an opportunity to start some new programs or to increase the recruitment of faculty in other areas. And then when as Cindy will show you in some detail, as you look at the footprint of the land that we've acquired at Mission Bay, you will see that we actually have acquired enough land not only to do this 289 bed project now, but ultimately enough land to build a 550 bed hospital at Mission Bay, so that as we have to deal with the Moffitt Hospital seismic problems, and it's supposed to come down by 2030, I'm hoping I'll be on a beach someplace when that actually has to happen. But we have purchased enough land and made it possible so that there'll be a plan for that to happen. And as I mentioned earlier, by moving our inpatient facilities from Mount Zion to Mission Bay, we will give ourselves more space at Mount Zion to accommodate growing demand for outpatient care. I just want to make a few comments about probably the single biggest issue, which is how in the heck do you pay for something this big? This is a $1.5, $1.6 billion project. And oh, by the way, the state of California, how's it doing? Not too well, I guess. It's broke, and a lot of people have said this is a poor climate for economic, for philanthropic efforts, and all of that. And I want to just give you a quick rundown of where we are on funding for this project. So the first big part of it is debt. The medical center is a $1.4 billion a year business. It's self-supporting. And in fact, when we go out to the bond market and borrow money in the public markets frequently for different projects. We continually have our debt capacity reviewed and updated by Barclays, formerly Lehman Brothers. But we have just had a confirmation that yes, if we keep our strong financial performance in the hospital, we're in a position next year to go out and borrow $700 million. It's a lot of money, but this hospital generates a lot of money and we can afford it. Medical center equity, this is the amount of money that it's the cash that we bring in. It's our profit each year and the depreciation that we have. Right now we have a bank account of about $125 million. We spend about $150 million a year in cash, so we're constantly spending. And we intend, and we've already been using a lot of that cash to help support the Mission Bay Hospital project. In fact, to this point, all the expenditures that we've made, buying the land, supporting the operations there, have been funded through medical center equity. We actually expect that we're probably going to spend closer to $160 or $170 million of medical center equity. And then all of you may recall that there were two bonds on the ballots, Prop 3, am I right, and Prop 69. Somebody will help me out, but two separate children's hospital bonds for which we are owed $69 million from the state. And the state says you can have the $69 million just as soon as we sort through some of our cash problems over here in Sacramento. We don't need the cash today. We know the state is good for it, and so we're counting on that 69. When this project started, it was a $1.686 billion project. In fact, that's the number that the regions have approved for this project, 1.686. We've made a commitment to get that down to at least 1.586, and we're hoping to get it down closer to 1.5. And if we can do that, this little slice right here, we can just take and throw away, because I think the odds of us getting state dollars to support this project right now are very poor. I will tell you, we've done a lot of work to position the medical center, excuse me, to be at the top of a list in case there's a second federal stimulus program to the states. so that if there's more money coming from the federal government to California to support infrastructure, this project is actually very high on the list of projects that could be supported, and I think that's where maybe some money could come from the state. And then finally, philanthropy contributing $600 million. As of this minute, today we are at $225 million, which is a staggeringly high amount, given that before this project we probably never raised more than $1 million or $2 million in a year in the Med Center, but now we've come a long way and we're on our way toward the $600 million. I'm very confident that we will achieve this. Before I turn it over to Cindy, or before we're going to watch a little video, let me just give you a little personal view of this project. We started in the year 2001 recognizing that we had a seismic problem at Mount Zion, trying to figure out what we were going to do. We looked at replacement options here on Parnassus. We looked at acquiring additional land at Mount Zion. We looked at a whole host of options. We finally settled on Mission Bay. And as some of you may recall, in the early 2000s, 8-9 years ago, we were losing a lot of money. We were in no position to buy land, to much less to take on a $1.5 billion project. But because of the financial performance of the medical center, our growth, the strong work of the staff and the medical staff here, we were in a position to spend close to $150 million to buy 14.5 acres down at Mission Bay. We have that land now. That's right there to be used. And then we were trying to decide, should we take on a big project, a $1.5, $1.6 billion project that relied on $600 million of philanthropy. And I'll admit that at the beginning I said, there's no way we can afford it. We've never raised, as I said, more than a couple million bucks a year. We're not going to raise $600 million. I mean, I'd love to do it, but I didn't think it was possible. And I thought that we just needed to scale our expectations back and focus on the Mount Zion Hospital, maybe retrofit it and make do. And in a series of very telling meetings, most of them happening around the table in Regent Dick Blum's office with major donors and people of consequence in this city, the discussion and the sentiment from the leadership of this city was that UCSF should go for it. That maybe we won't succeed, maybe we won't be able to raise enough money, and we could go back and do something smaller and less significant at Mount Zion, but go for it. Take the risk, do something bold, because nothing big and bold happens without strong vision and commitment to a dream and something that's bigger than you think you can accomplish. And so we took that on. We said, okay, this is bigger than we think we were prepared to accomplish. But now we run that movie reel forward a few years, and here we are. We're at the precipice of this happening. We will be going to the Regents in November of this year. Probably we'll do an interim update in March and then go in November for final budget approval. And I will tell you today, I am 100% confident we're going to start construction on this project in a year. And we've already, well, you'll see some of the things that are already going on, and that we will not only raise the $600 million, we're going to create a group of donors here that want to support UCSF, not only at Mission Bay, but at Mount Zion and here at Parnassus for decades to come. It's been an incredible revelation to me.